Welcome, horror lovers. I'm Pete, and today we're going to embark on a journey through some of the darkest legends in the world. If you're new here, subscribe and activate notifications so you don't miss any terrifying stories. The story of the ghost taxi at Chacarita Cemetery is one of the most fascinating and chilling tales in Argentine urban folklore. The legend revolves around a taxi that mysteriously appears on dark nights, especially near Chacarita Cemetery, one of the largest and oldest cemeteries in Buenos Aires. What makes this story even more intriguing are the supposed testimonies of passengers who claim to have experienced this terrifying encounter. Let's explore the details of this macabre legend and its mysteries. The legend of the ghost taxi dates back to the 1950s and 1960s, when reports began to surface of drivers and passengers claiming to have witnessed something inexplicable around Chacarita Cemetery, located in the Villa Devoto neighborhood of Buenos Aires. The story goes that, on particularly dark and foggy nights, an old-fashioned black taxi with dim lights would suddenly appear to pick up people waiting for a cab on the streets near the cemetery. Upon entering the taxi, passengers realize that the journey becomes increasingly strange. The atmosphere inside the car is heavy, and the driver, always serious and taciturn, takes them on a route that seems endless. When the taxi finally stops and the passenger pays the fare, something unexpected happens. The money vanishes, and the driver never takes the cash. Moreover, when passengers try to ask the driver for more details about the journey, or even his name, he disappears into thin air, leaving them confused and with a chilling sense of dread. In some reports, passengers claim that, while looking out the window during the ride, they can see strange images, such as figures of spirits, rapidly moving shadows, and even a distorted view of Chacarita Cemetery, as if the taxi were entering another dimension. The most famous account of encountering the ghost taxi comes from a Buenos Aires taxi driver, who, on a night with thick fog, was called to pick up a passenger at the entrance of Chacarita Cemetery. The man seemed in a hurry and got into the taxi with a strange expression, almost as if he were fleeing from something. Throughout the ride, the passenger didn't say a word, and though the driver was curious, he didn't dare ask any questions. When the taxi reached the destination, the man paid the fare with a high-value note, but when the driver took the money, it disintegrated in his hands, as if it were made of dust. Terrified, the driver turned to speak to the passenger, but the seat was empty. The driver didn't know whether he had encountered a spirit or an illusion, but the fact is that he never returned to work in the area around Chacarita Cemetery, fearing further encounters with the ghost taxi. Another famous account involves a young student who was returning from a party late at night. She hailed a taxi in front of the cemetery, hoping to get home quickly. The driver, who was very quiet, made her uncomfortable. During the ride, she noticed that time seemed to stretch on endlessly, and the cemetery, which she knew well, appeared to go on forever. When she asked the driver to stop, he didn't respond, but she noticed that the street was completely deserted, and she no longer recognized the route. Desperate, she insisted on getting out, and it was then that the taxi vanished in the blink of an eye. She never forgot this experience, which she swore was an encounter with the supernatural. Many experts have tried to explain this legend, but interpretations vary. Some believe the ghost taxi is a portal to the afterlife, a kind of limbo between the world of the living and the dead. Others suggest that the taxi is a manifestation of spirits that are somehow trapped in the area, perhaps due to the large number of deaths associated with Chacarita Cemetery. There are also theories that the taxi is a kind of wandering soul, transporting passengers who have a connection to death or the cemetery, though they are unaware of it. The fact that the taxi disappears and passengers feel disconnected from reality leads many to believe that it is a supernatural manifestation that feeds off the energy of the living. Chacarita Cemetery itself already carries an air of mystery. It was inaugurated in 1871 and is home to many historical figures, including musicians and artists. It is also famous for being a location with a heavy energy, fueled by the many stories of ghosts and apparitions that have occurred over the years. The fact that most of the legends involving the ghost taxi take place near the cemetery only adds layers of mystery and macabre intrigue to the story. The ghost taxi of Chacarita Cemetery remains an enigma to many. The blend of true testimonies and the peculiarities of the legend make it one of the most told and debated stories in supernatural circles in Buenos Aires. If you ever find yourself wandering the streets near the Chupacabra is one of the most legendary and terrifying creatures in Latin American popular culture, and its story is full of mysteries, eyewitness accounts, and enigmatic attacks that have captured the imagination of people in various countries. Its origin dates back to the 1990s, but the phenomenon spread rapidly, giving rise to numerous tales, news reports, and investigations. Let's tell the story of the Chupacabra in detail, exploring its origins, attacks, and testimonies that keep the mystery alive to this day. The Chupacabra phenomenon began in 1995 in the town of Canovanas, Puerto Rico. The story unfolded with a series of disturbing reports of attacks on animals, particularly chickens, goats, and other small domestic animals. These animals were found dead, with obvious signs of mutilation. However, the strangest part was the lack of blood in the victims, a characteristic that would become emblematic in later reports. The first major wave of attacks was recorded by a local farmer named Maduro Perez, who found his goats and chickens dead under unexplained circumstances. He noticed marks on their bodies, as if something had sucked all their blood, leaving them dehydrated and without any external bleeding. News of the incidents quickly spread throughout the town and the island, and more similar cases started to be reported, sparking panic and curiosity. According to the first reports, the creature responsible for the attacks appeared to be small and reptilian, with glowing red eyes, sharp claws, and pointed teeth. However, the description varied greatly, leading to numerous theories and speculations. Some said the Chupacabra was an extraterrestrial creature, while others suggested it was an unknown animal, a type of vampire, or even a mutant. The Chupacabra story gained even more traction after local media began covering the attacks and generating theories about the creature's origin. The term Chupacabra, which means goat sucker in Spanish, was popularized by journalist Pedro Flores, who followed the events and used the term to describe the creature. The word spread quickly, and soon attacks were being reported not only in Puerto Rico, but also in neighboring countries, including Mexico, the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, and even the United States. In 1997, the attacks reached alarming proportions in Mexico, particularly in rural areas. In the state of Chihuahua, dozens of animals were found dead under mysterious circumstances. Witnesses described the creature as having thick fur and sharp teeth, with a more canine or reptilian appearance, but with one common characteristic: the blood extraction from the victims. This further fueled the Chupacabra legends, and reports continued to grow, leading to a full-blown hunt for the creature, although it was never captured or convincingly filmed. One of the most famous and chilling cases was that of Ana Medina, a farmer from the Tamaulipas region in Mexico. She and her children had found several dead goats on her property, showing clear signs of mutilation. And one full moon night, while patrolling the field, Ana had an experience she would never forget. She said that she saw, through the mist of the night, a creature stealthily approaching her animals. It looked like a mix of dog and reptile, with red eyes like fire and greenish skin, Ana recounted in an interview with Televisa. The Chupacabra, as she described it, attacked her goats, and before she could act, it vanished into the darkness. The next day, more goats were found dead, and the farmer became convinced that she had been attacked by the chupacabra itself. This testimony was widely publicized in the Mexican media and caused many others to come forward with similar stories. Another notable testimony came from Victor Fuentes, a young man from Puerto Rico. In August 1995, he reported that when he went out to his garden one morning, he found his chicken dead in an extremely strange way. Fuentes described how the bird had been completely disfigured, with deep bite marks and, like other cases, no blood. The situation caught the attention of a team of local TV journalists and also of biologists. It was then that the first studies began, but the theory of the chupacabra was not yet well defined. Interviews and reports about the attacks led to discussions, and some experts suggested that the attacks might be the work of known animals, like wild dogs or foxes, but without explaining the lack of blood and the precision of the bites. Leave your opinion in the comments, and if you know other scary stories, share them with us. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more spine-chilling stories.